Follow Danielle, please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please.
Do it. Vicky, here. Warner,
Here.
Renzo,
Here.
Chanel,
Here.
Powell.
Here.
Presidential statement. He's not here, but I'm taking his place. So, this has nothing to do with anything tonight. I just want to let people know, because I get these emails because of Fran. They're doing the sturgeon release this weekend. August 19th.
Friday.
Noon.
My kids are so
The next one will be September 24th. But at 11 a.m., they'll be on the Tittabawassee up at the ramp in Midland. Noon, they will be here at Cole Park. And 2 p.m., the Cache River in Trenton. So depending on where you're at, if you want to see it, it's very cool. I've seen it before.
Which side?
Usually right down here.
They used to be right down at the bottom here.
Usually at the beach.
Okay.
But
The
yes,
last
they
time
switched,
I was
they
over
switched over the beach.
The last 2 or 3 times it's been at the beach. They will actually set a tank up underneath the pavilion. They'll have Shiawassee River, Friends of Shiawassee River will be there. They'll have pamphlets. They'll talk about it. They'll have a few swimming around in the tank for the kids to go up and look. It's usually how it goes, right, Jeannie? You're usually there.
Yeah.
Taking pictures.
Yeah, but it's right at deadline on Friday.
Is it this time? Yeah. And they usually work pretty good. But they'll hand out buckets. They'll hand out 5-gallon buckets with fish in them, and you just kind of take the fish out and carefully put a few
Yeah.
in. It's
Yes,
so
you are
neat.
allowed to have
It's a really neat thing. It
Take a
is.
picture of them. They're ugly.
Yeah. They're not ugly. They're adorable.
They're ugly.
They are not. I don't know.
But they're necessary.
They are, and it's just really a neat experience.
Yeah.
All of my kids love going every single time. All of the girls, except for my 16-year-old.
Too cool. Too cool. All right. Approval of tonight's agenda.
So moved.
Support.
Motion to approve the agenda supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Public statement regarding current agenda items on tonight's agenda. The questions for the board will be recorded and may be answered in the following meeting to ensure council members have time to confirm the accuracy. It shall not be interpreted as a means to initiate dialogue or debate. Anyone? No. Consent agenda?
So moved. Support.
Consent agenda is a motion to approve and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There's no unfinished business. New business, items for introduction. The 2021-22 audit presentation. Andrews, Hooper, Pavlik, CPAs and advisors. The floor is yours.
Audits are exciting to talk about, and people usually want me to go on and on, but I'll try to keep it brief. My name is Dwayne Miles with Andrews Hooper Pavlik. Jacqueline Simons is with me as well. Really want to give credit to Jacqueline and to James, especially they've the work that they've done, all of that, and obviously the clerk's office and everyone in the city or in the village. Doesn't go well without all the people behind the scenes, so thank you very much. The audit went well. We're a little bit ahead of schedule, I would say. We're in the process of finalizing it. The audit is a clean opinion, unmodified is another term that you'll have. So what I'll go over are just a couple of highlights for our board report. That's required communication that we have for as auditors to the council. And then we go over a few highlights on the financial statements and we give you a chance to answer any questions. Overall, there really were not any significant issues during the audit this year. Things went as expected, went smoothly. We asked for a ton of documentation records and so forth, we got all of that timely, everything was in order. We follow, one of the things we do is follow up on management comments that we had from the prior year and look for opportunities for improving internal control for this year. So last year, there were a couple minor comments really that related to reconciliations of things and of that nature. All of that was cleared this year, and we don't have any new comments. We try to be judicious with things that we have and comments that we make. We don't want to make comments that are frivolous just to say that we've made them. But I think your systems are in place, they're operating well, and we're happy with that. As far as our communication, there's about a dozen topics that we're required to communicate to you, and I'll kind of summarize that by saying kind of in the affirmative, everything is positive on that, no issues. But the things that we would communicate with you if they were issues would be things like difficulty in either dealing with management or difficulty during the audit. If we notice questionable accounting policies or unusual transactions and things of that nature that we felt really as a governance group you would need to see, then we would communicate that to you. But there weren't any, so I mean that's good, and we like to see that. There's a board report, and I don't it's in draft form. There aren't any changes to it at this point, but included in that are also the real exciting part, changes in accounting statements that are coming up. So those are listed there. Not to quiz anybody on them, but they're there. Sometimes you go to meetings, or meeting with other council folks. There may be questions that come up, or someone mentions some accounting standard, and they're some form, so we can get that. So all in all, everything went well, audit went well, clean, and a good report. For the financial statements, there's obviously a lot in here, and I want to highlight just a couple of things. Overall, as I mentioned, the audit's unmodified, so it's a clean report, what you add over the year. The best way to look at the financial statements, because they are large, is kind of to divide it up into about three pieces. One is a section called the management discussion and analysis. And that's about 5 or 6 pages. It's in the front, it's right after our audit opinion. Best way to think of that is an executive summary of financial statements. That's probably the best way to look at that. The middle part, fairly thick, are all the financial statements, all of the different funds, and all those are listed. Statements of activity, revenue, and expenses are there. And then the third part are the footnotes, which are really more explanatory comments. So one of the things that's important to know for you is that the presentation and the content and the format of all of that has been consistent with the prior year, and we really didn't have any unusual comments for that. One of the questions that we often get is that the condition of the general fund. The general fund did have about $31,000 of a decrease this year. That was expected. It wasn't a surprise that that can go up and down. And that left ending fund balance of $158,000. Some people ask as far as the percentage, is that a good percentage? It comes up to be 7%, which in and of itself probably doesn't matter as much. But another way to look at that, if you kind of translate that into how does that affect the expenditures, that's about 26 days worth of expenditures. So about a month worth of reserves, if you will, if you have that. You'll hear targets of 15% and higher amounts. What we have found is that over for a lot of different reasons over the last couple of years, that might be higher or lower. And if you have a good budgeting process, you're aware of it, and you're on top of that. So it's not a concern. All of your fund balances are positive. There are some that are kind of in and out funds that maintain at zero, but nothing that's negative. So that's good as well. Every municipality, usually every year, has some budget variances. Many are positive, most are positive, but sometimes on those particular line concern to me though, that would be pretty difficult. Another number that's really a long-term number, net pension obligation, that is stated about 2.5 million. Best way I can describe that is that that's almost like a mortgage. It's something that you pay a little bit over time, but that's something that you're really gonna pay down over a period of 20 to 30 years. So quite a long period, large numbers, amortized over that long period. I guess with that, that's a kind of a quick summary of the highlights. Any questions that you have, I'd be happy to answer those.
Is there any place that we replace some of the negative money that we lost during the COVID and all that, with the art money that we got?
The ARPA funds, as those come in, to the extent that they may be deferred, and that you have expenditures, that can be used. I know some was used this year. I think about 117,000 of that had come in previously. Kind of replenish that. In my experience with with losses like that is that in recent years, many municipalities have had more expenditures. Sometimes people lag and reimbursement for that. And sometimes they're just plain more expenses. That's kind of why you have the fund balance. Next year, expenses are lower, revenues a little bit higher, and that's going to be so. But we see it.
I can clarify just for, we received ARPA in two payments. This year was first year, the 117 was the entire amount that was applied to the general fund as revenue replacement. And we will be getting the second payment, or I don't know if we ever did that. It'll be,
gotta be close.
Yeah, it'll be booked this year as a revenue replacement. And it was necessary as.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank Donna for all the hard work she has done on the audit. I know she works really hard and stresses out about it for a while, but.
Incredible job. A lot of
Donna gets it done.
a lot of the work papers that we get say, I don't know what the percentage is. It's a high percentage comes from Donna and very clean and easy to follow. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Donna.
None of us want to do it, so.
Oh, my.
Good. No other questions. I know as much as you want to hang around for the rest of the evening.
Yeah.
But thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, items for action, none. Committee reports. Infrastructure,
No meeting.
finance and administration.
We didn't have any. I mean, yeah, no meeting. Minimal discussion about the audit, but not really anything.
Probably
We actually, it doesn't sound like, we knew the audit was important. We had a hard time finding scheduling where we could all get, so
Together.
we've all briefed with James individually though, and went through the audit, so just so that it was clear that it was, the right finance administration.
Thank you.
Are you too sure?
Yes.
Do you wanna talk about the paper that they ran?
This nice paper.
This is what they deal with when they're actually. Public safety? Kim, was it public safety?
No, we did not meet, I'm sorry.
Kim, was there DDA?
There was, DDA met on the 10th. It was a pretty quick meeting for them. They ran through bills and are talking in discussion more about their budget for upcoming times. It's a concern. working and confirming the brickwork downtown. I suspect that'll probably happen to get done before winter is come. I didn't hear a date, but I was holding my breath on that.
Communication is not really happening, so if it doesn't happen by the end of September, we'll probably talk next year.
There were some really nice communications to the DDA from different residents about the flowers up and down the boulevard and how wonderful they looked. They continue to work that program and are looking for sponsorships and things, and continued work on the bike racks. That took a little bit more doing than what they thought, because we have to work in conjunction with the state because of the highway and where things are placed in conjunction beach-wise to the curb into the road. And so it's not as easy as we're just gonna put a bike rack here. But they're doing their best to collaborate and cooperate. Next meeting is September 14th.
Chamber?
Yeah,
I'm only pretending to be back, so I don't know.
I did not hear an update.
Planning Commission?
I believe next week, on the 23rd, 7 p.m., right here, this room.
Airport, Mr. Beaky?
No meeting, but the Fun Fest is coming up in 2 weeks. And then I think September 14th. Anyway, the Fun Fest is
14th
coming.
is a Wednesday,
No
it's
meeting,
the 17th is a Saturday.
Fun Fest is coming up, and then the meeting will follow a couple weeks after that.
I think it's the Monday after the Trump Fest. All right, obviously Sean and I are on top of things. Fire board.
We had 6 runs since the last meeting, bringing a total of 115 runs. The blood drive on August 4th and 5th went really good. We had a work detail at Station 2 of getting it painted on the inside. Got half done because there was a COVID case, so we canceled the rest of it. We are looking for a new computer to replace the old one in Brandon's office, which is the new fire inspector. Our audit is back. We did sign off on it, so waiting to get the final copy on that. We're still waiting on a pump for Brush 20. They put it back 3 more weeks. As you know, Darren Harford passed away. He had 11 years on the fire department. And as a lieutenant, his name is going to be placed on the memorial wall at Ross Common up there at the DNR. And Scott missed it by 2 days, so it's going to be put on next year. So, the new washer is working good. Everybody loves it. The chamber donated $200 from the fireworks fire department being there. Strampy, I think it is, fireworks, that put it on. Donated a $1,000 foam nozzle to the fire department.
Wow.
So,
That's wonderful.
next training is September 11th and 12th. Is on LZ, which is the landing zone for the helicopters and that. Everybody's got to go through that. And then the next fire board meeting is September 14th at 6 o'clock.
Task force?
We are supposed to meet this month,
Next week.
next Tuesday.
All right. Public statements, any topic. Same rules as the other one. Mike Navarre. Karen Tran.
Yeah.
Rato. Yasmin Woods.
Well, I am hoping to hear a little bit about the progress made with the marijuana ordinances. You will address that in your work session, I'm assuming. And especially about the odor. And I see by the survey that 62% of the folks that responded also found it to be disagreeable. And as much as I find that concerning, I am a little comforted to know that it isn't just me, but it does seem to be my neighborhood, because I know there are people that don't live in my neighborhood that don't, until they come into like my yard or a couple of streets away, they really don't know what it smells like until they get there, and then they understand. So hopefully we can still continue to make progress on that.
council member statements. Anybody?
Did, you get any more emails from the parents on that project down the park for raft? Right,
No, I had not.
they still want to put a bench or something down at the park, down by the ball diamond or something.
Yeah, we're meeting with his dad next week.
Yeah, he's coming next week.
And so I may know more.
Cause I got another email the other day from a couple parents wanting to know if I brought it up, and I said,
Oh, so not.
talked about it, but.
Yeah, DPW's talked about a couple options, we're meeting with, his dad next week.
Okay, I'll let them know.
Right, because DPW wants to do something, they want it down at the park.
Yeah.
There's a parents group or a couple parents groups that they want to have a bench made.
Oh.
They want that down at the park. I relayed the suggestion.
Yeah, we'll try to
School.
Yeah.
Put it up at school, because there's gonna be something down at the park.
Right, yeah.
Because it's down at the park, and it has to be removable. Of course, their idea was, well, let's secure it. No, we can't. Because you secure it, we get high water and
Yeah,
spring or
ice
fall,
will
it's
take care of
toast,
that.
so let's not take a chance of doing it.
Did you ever put the Boy Scout one in? Kevin's?
The Boy Scout ones are down there.
Okay.
They remove them every year.
There's two of them.
Yeah. There's two.
Yes, they're removable, so if they do go that path, putting a bench down there for rape, if it goes that way, it's gonna have to be removable as well, so. Whereas I think something at the high school for him, that can be made permanent, it doesn't have to move. But, that's just an opinion, so. Village staff reports, village administrator.
Thank you. Just a couple highlights. You see activity again at the old Burger King. They got their stormwater plans all approved. That was audible. They had to call and take pause for a moment. That's going to begin. And just a reminder, 3 weeks, we have a 3-week break in between council meetings this time around. Anything comes up, but happy to answer any questions you may have. Or those are my highlights.
And we're gonna wait to see what the public auction does over there at the.
Yeah, we haven't seen a date for it yet. The website is on that sign, but we'll certainly follow and see what happens.
Anything either OHM or the township about doing the numbers for the kayak launching?
Yes, that was just last week that they did approve it. The township did approve splitting the bill. Yeah.
I was so excited to see that.
Yeah. So we're trying to put together a joint grant application for Parshallberg and for us to do some kayak infrastructure.
That's good for all the people that are crazy in the winter time too. Work session, marijuana ordinances. Someone has come here with 3 topics for discussion. Everybody has a piece of paper in front of them. The first thing has to do with fines, and the wording and how you read these are the way they should be mostly written legally, the way I'm gonna read it. As far as pertaining to fines, because we need to make a change to that, is because recreational marijuana is a heavily regulated industry in the village. All licensees are assumed to be fully aware of the law. The village shall not, therefore, be required to issue warnings before issuing citations for violations. Therefore, we should leave the fine at $500. Each day such violation continues shall be considered a separate offense, meaning the $500 fine just compiles and compiles and compiles until you rectify what we found. Yes, I have a paragraph under that because I know sometimes people want to give a warning. I don't believe there should be a warning, just as it's stated in that little paragraph I had. You've been in business now for 2, 3, 4 years. You know the rules. You don't need a warning. So, discuss.
Take the warning out in the way I feel.
No, I don't think there should be a warning. That's why I wrote the first paragraph the way it is.
And I would just mention, usually in ordinance enforcement, I would say you gotta have warning in there, because the judge is gonna want you to do that. This case, it really becomes unnecessary, because you can apply the fines, yes, you may end up in front of a judge to try to enforce that violation, but the reality is you are the judge and jury on this, because if they have unpaid fines, regardless of whether they're trying to adjudicate them or not, you have full discretion on renewing the license every year. And so it would be wise to just happily write that check, okay, violate a rule, but, and from an administrative standpoint, that's perfectly fine, as far as I'm concerned.
Cause I know a couple of the businesses, they broke the rules the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And that's why the township put up their ordinance too.
Well, and the issue, like the burn ordinance, specifically as written into the ordinance, the first offense is a warning. We write it into the ordinance here in such a way that says you have to follow other ordinances. And if you violate that ordinance, you violate this ordinance, therefore you violate $500. So
yes, it needs to be worded a little bit differently to avoid those conflicts, but.
But what if the fix is multi-day? So do we compound the fines for every day they're ordering parts or moving dirt or?
Each day such violation continues shall be considered a separate offense. And we know who we're talking about, the person that doesn't seem to wanna get the pieces for his fence. If he gets tagged on Tuesday, he gets tagged on Wednesday, he gets tagged on Thursday. It's gonna continue until he shows up with the stuff that makes the fence the way it should be.
Even if it's on order.
Even if it's on order, cause you gotta prove to us, cause he said this repeatedly.
I agree.
And
And
that's a problem.
I'm not against this. However, if they're able to validate and prove that, yes, it is on order, yes, this is the back order, yes, this is the expected ship date,
Then we go and check. If it doesn't show up, fine.
absolutely. But do we charge them in between that shown proof? And
That's why we discussed past it.
Well, see, and that's where I'm coming from. I'm with Danielle. If you can show the proof of purchase and all of the documentation saying it's just not here yet, I don't think we can fine them all the way up for 2 months waiting for it.
But we need to go out there and check.
Oh, I don't
If it's
disagree.
not there what he said, guess what?
no, he needs
The
to
fine
validate.
stunts again.
Oh, I don't disagree. Tom should be out there.
I don't have a problem with that.
Like,
Because I understand parts and
the proof
pieces
should
are
be
hard.
validated, for sure.
Parts and pieces are hard to get, but obviously it's been hard to get for just him for a while.
Oh, no.
Not everybody else, just him.
No, and I'm in agreement with you as well.
So,
and I would say, again, as the enforcer of this ordinance, we are gonna exercise that type of discretion. Even if you told me find them every day, we have to demonstrate some discretion there, to sort of make a punishment fit the crime, so to speak. And I think you saw that even with the Boltano situation, there's about $1,000 in fines there. It could have been more if you truly counted every day, but we try to weigh.
so use a similar thing. They got trash laid out.
Yeah,
I'm just saying as an example.
Oh, yeah.
We're out there, hey, you need to clean this up, here's your fine. We go back Wednesday, you didn't clean it up, here's your fine. You're already told once, here's the second day, you need to get it cleaned Thursday. You didn't clean it up, fine. But, I mean, again, there's gonna be things we gotta be careful, but they need to know you're gonna get fined every day until you rectify what we got you for.
And I'm agreeing that there should be consequences for dragging your feet.
Is there, would we have discretion, if something, say, were to go wrong on Friday night and nobody was in the facility until Monday morning? Are we finding them from, on the weekend when nobody was there and unaware of the problem?
I thought that.
You know, this is just a stage where we decide this is a good idea.
So this is, I commit to you, yes. I often.
I'm not against the everyday fine, I just think that every situation probably needs to be looked at in different scenarios. I mean, we all know how hard it is to receive certain things that we've ordered. I don't see the point of fining somebody on the days that they're waiting for shipping.
I often use this analogy, as I used to be a police officer. The state motor vehicle code is a book this thick. I only have to follow you for about a half mile to find some technical violation of the vehicle code.
Sure.
I have a tool in the toolbox, so I can pull you over every half mile and write you a ticket for something. I don't. It's silly. That's where discretion is applied.
Sure.
Use of common sense. So that would be,
I just wanna make sure we're gonna do
this puts a tool in the toolbox that for the unrepentant violator.
that. Yes, and I fully am supportive of that.
Ding them every day.
The fence thing, because I just reread the report and I realized I missed a very key word in this report. I read that the fence has been ordered and they're putting it in as it's being shipped to them, but that's not what this report says. The report says that as they get it ordered and it is shipped to them, so they don't even have the date fence ordered. According to this report.
Yeah, that may have been a.
That's why I just.
To my knowledge, all the screening material needed has been ordered.
Okay, because in this it says as
But,
they
yeah,
get it
the way
ordered
that
and
reads,
shipped. Yes.
I cannot see misunderstanding.
Yeah, and so my thought was, if they're waiting on it being shipped, then I can understand it's not finding them daily. But if they don't even have it ordered yet, yeah, there's no reason why it should not be ordered. But I missed that key, the get it ordered. And then,
How did Spartan fencing get our fence up so quick?
These are fair questions. Progress has been made. And these are, and some of this is the art of ordinance enforcement. Making progress, you want to work with people. You start throwing hammers around, it can get harder.
No, and I'm in absolute agreement on it. As long as they can show they're doing something,
Yes.
I'm willing to play ball.
And that's exactly what we do.
But Spartan Fence had ours in a week or less. And from the time it was quit, and we've been waiting 2 years.
Well,
And it's been uncovered since I've sat here.
Oh, yeah, and this is part of the issue. It wasn't ordered 2 years ago. No, the waiting on the order is a recent order that should have been made 2 years ago. There's no question that there's their own fault. And just to clarify, again, as far as that concerned, the state is satisfied that they're in compliance because there's other screening, vegetative and mounds and other things that provide screening. So as far as the state's concerned, they're saying it's compliant. It doesn't meet our standard, and so being out of secret with the state on it doesn't help. But it would sure help to have their hammer in the game too. But
I would absolutely not consider driving down Milford Road and the closer you get to the end of the property, where the woods meets the field. That is absolutely not in compliance. I'm sorry, you can see straight in there. The woods does not cover it. It only covers it from the settler property. It does not cover it from the road. So, I mean, if the state considers that compliant.
please don't mistake me
No.
for defending the
For
state.
sure. But I'm just questioning how the state can see them as being in compliance because you can see right in there.
So what monetary amount of fines do they accrue before we just tell them they have to cease operation?
Yeah, that should be mentioned, is that depending on the circumstance, we aren't lost at, just keep writing tickets a month and do so many things.
You only get so much blood.
We can still go to a court and ask for a court order to say cease and desist. If it's a public safety issue or some other egregious violation, we absolutely have the option to do more than just write once a day. So that, and again, that's a discretionary thing, where if the problem is that bad, we absolutely get our attorney involved and go to court.
Do we have parameters set for that though? Like what parameters do we reach so that it's clear?
You don't
We're gonna
have
to accrue
parameters.
so much in fines, and then we're pursuing our next step.
You don't have that on your zoning, you don't have such parameters. It's writing some sort of a solution in search of a problem. You don't write those for your zoning ordinance, you don't write for any of your other ordinances. You just on a case-by-case basis, you look at it and say, you don't have parameters for going after this building and going to court to sue them. You just comes before you and you make a decision. If it gets that bad, then, just put it as, Go.
I was just curious, are we allowed to comment about this section? And, you started the statement was, did you say recreational and medical or just recreational?
It says recreation.
It would be both.
Okay, understand.
That was my
We're
only
going crazy.
I don't know.
This is where we,
I don't believe that medical is allowed to be grown outside,
I don't think.
which is why I believe it's only stated recreational. Because medical, I believe, has to be in an enclosed but don't hold me to that. I'm sorry.
Basically, have 8 miles.
Yeah,
This would
I mean, screening would not typically be something that they would have a violation for, but yes, yeah.
Okay, so we understand, when we're doing these things, this is just to decide if we want to move forward.
It'll be written for both. with
Currently,
the ordinance.
Our ordinance is $500 fine.
Once.
End of discussion, over. This is to make it more. And then it comes down, I read this, do we want to move this forward? I brought it, I'm not gonna move it.
So the question becomes, you need a motion to move it
There
over
we
to
go.
the planning commission. So I would.
Eventually, okay, like we said, we're compiling these, at which point we're gonna get it all written correctly, legally, and then it will go, and then it will come here. But we need to get these, there are certain things in our ordinance, that's just, as this business adapts, we need to adapt. And this is one of the things we need to adapt. One fine is ridiculous. So, yes, we need a motion if we wanna move this forward.
Any other questions, concerns before I?
Yeah, cause I have two more, so.
Oh, no, I just wanna make sure, I wanna make, I don't wanna go too fast. So I will motion to approve extending the framework of the fines to go to the planning commission.
Alright, is there a motion and supported for the fines, little paragraph to move forward? Roll call vote, please.
Philip?
Yes.
Beaky? Yes. Warner?
Yes.
Wenzel?
Yes.
Fidel?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Number 2, this excites her. License forfeiture. Again, I took this and it's written loosely, legally, to be the way it's gonna show up. So, license forfeiture. In the event that a recreational marijuana, again,
It'll be written for both.
establishment or other regulated activity authorized by the rules.
Promulgated.
Thank you, because you knew I can't say that word. By the state does not commence operations within 1 year of issuance of a village operating license. The license shall be deemed forfeited. The business may not commence operations unless extended by a majority vote of the village council. Meaning, how we got hosed, I voted against it anyhow, out there in the corner of 57, they got approval to do stuff, and then they did nothing. And then one turned around and sold his little tiny yard for $1 million, whatever. And nothing happened, and they were granted licenses. So if this rule was in place, all that would have went away. No licenses would have moved forward, nothing would have transferred. It's forfeited. Again, license transfer, that's the next one. But-
Say about both of us.
Comments,
I think
discussion?
it's sneaky, I don't like it.
No. Even though I voted against that stuff out there, I didn't like how it went down. That was not cool.
Talk to me about the 1 year time frame, as far as why isn't it less or more, or?
Because most of the communities in the state use 1 year as the time limit. And that's where I got it from reading other articles.
Building out. to
Everybody-
too.
Everybody has 1 year, and if this just basically says, so let's say one of those businesses out on the corner started building their buildings. All right, they're in the process of doing stuff in a year, so they're fine. They don't have to be growing stuff in a year.
No.
We just need to be doing something within 1 year.
I would like to add a little bit more if we were going to put this in an official ordinance, and I think that there should be some type of timeline system. Maybe after 6 months, you have to be XYZ percentage build out. After this many months, you have to be XYZ more percentage built out, because the village sales building, they started working on it and then they halted it and then it was done. If it's written too loosely, my opinion would be they can argue in court that, hey, well, we built a part of it out we did what you said that we had to do, so, I would like to see if it would be legally possible to put a percentage of how much they have to have done within that timeline of a year in order to even be approved for another license, not just, oh, we went in and changed the plumbing, or we went in and built a room. In my opinion, I would like to see it a significant amount of the way finished before we reapprove the license.
And I guess I'd want some clarification on what, commence operations. So they're a few days short of their 1 year and they go out and pound in a couple stakes here and there, or they call them as dig. Have we commenced operations to prep the property, or, and I like the idea of the graduated process, because I think that would help with that. But I'm curious what constitutes commencing operation.
From an enforcement perspective, I can see it being tricky in that way. I can certainly talk with the attorney. If this idea has the support of the council, there's probably a few ways to address that and talk with the attorney about.
Could you make it simple of like 25% a quarter?
Well, but 25% of what? That becomes, it's a little fuzzy for me to try to enforce, which means it'll be fuzzy for a judge. One suggestion I might have is that at the time that you approve the license in the first place, that part of the application process includes a commitment of a timeline to operation with those milestones in their timeline, and that's the plan they have to stick to, or risk not getting renewed. That would be some of a pathway I might talk with the attorney about.
Sure. Regardless, that would be an available option for us.
But I think we all understand the concept is we want to see actual progress, not nominal process progress. And I can work with the attorney on trying to how to massage that, if it pleases the council.
I think that type of wordsmith is.
Make a motion?
Support. There has been a motion and supported to move forward with the license forfeiture rule. Roll call vote.
Hewitt?
Yes.
Beaky? Yes.
Lerner? Yes.
Wenzel?
Yes.
Shell?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Good. Number 3, transfer of a license. Each operating license is exclusive to the licensee or any other person must submit application for license licensure with the village clerk or designee before a license or is transferred, sold, or purchased. In compliance with any all rules issued by the state regarding the sale, transfer, or purchase of an existing license, any entity that holds a state-issued license may transfer or sell their license to a qualifying applicant, so long as they meet all local and state rules, laws, ordinances related to the sale or transfer of their license. Any entity purchasing or receiving a transferred license must submit an application and all associated documentation and fees. The applicant who is receiving the transfer or purchasing the license must have submitted all new application, license, and inspection fees and received all local and state approvals, including approved for pre-qualification with the state on all applications and associated documentation as well as inspections as outlined in this article, and the acts prior to beginning or taking over operations. The attempted transfer, sale, or other convenience of an interest in a license without prior village approval is grounds for suspension or revocation of a license or any other sanctions considered appropriate by the village. So basically, no more transferring your license without showing up here.
So this just sparked a thought. What is the state's policy on transferring license?
They have hardly any. But I would say, as this is described, it's almost exactly how liquor license transfers used to be.
Sure.
It used to be that the people that want to transfer had to come to you first, get your resolution of approval before the state would consider it. Now, the state no longer requires your approval to transfer ownership of the license. They notify you and you have a right to object to it. But they do it without you. But this goes back to the old way of how liquor licenses were handled. And so it's pretty, makes a lot of sense to me.
Does this, so our requirement of this will obviously supersede what the state requires for transferring licenses within this?
You are in the driver's seat.
Okay.
Their ability to operate here under state auspices is only because you allowed it in the first place.
Sure.
So you have the first point of control.
Okay. And the state's not going to give us any type of conflict because we're requiring, okay.
No, and I guess a couple layers here to think about. It is very common in any regulated world that LLCs are created and dissolved and moved, these things, and it's already happened with your existing licenses. So this would control that. But I don't know if the intent is also to, if there is a change in the ownership of the same LLC, or a change in the ownership group, or 25 or 50% of the ownership group changes, you want them to come back in, and that may be something we need to talk about.
Sure.
Because if the 25% share changes, does it matter to you? Maybe not.
I'm just trying to prevent what happened
Oh,
over
yeah,
here.
right.
That's my main goal.
So a majority ownership change is
Yeah.
probably what we're looking at. If it's less than a majority ownership change, what is it?
Do they notify you though, if they're gonna have somebody come in?
Not necessarily, but you can, this would require it, if it's, but you could say, if it's, more than 10%, but less than 50%, you have to notify us, but if it's more than 50%, you have to get approval. I mean, there's different things you can do with this, that's why I wanna ask it.
I know this is saying that they would have to come do their own paperwork and stuff like that. Can we word this so that it's like, even if we allow you to transfer a license, like the transfer is just to make sure that that place doesn't have to stop business immediately, but if this is not taken care of as we've laid out within 2-3 months, then you're done. Like, put a time frame on, you should have this all set up and done, that we're not going to transfer for like a long period of time, like this should then be your license, and you should have all this.
We can do that. I would submit to you that is taking a different approach than we did with the fines. The fines, you said, you don't know what you're doing, and you get 0 warnings. With that's maybe being a little bit more permissive, where they don't know what they're doing in a transfer of ownership.
Yeah, I mean, they're not doing it
To get
overnight.
their ducks in a row to be ahead of the game.
Absolutely.
They should be at a risk of not being able to operate because they don't
Sure.
have their ducks.
I mean, it's a timely sequence to probably transfer licenses to begin with, so it's not something that they're just gonna say, oh, by the way, next week, such and such is buying our building.
Yeah.
I don't,
Yeah, because you're gonna
Can we
have to
connect
approve
the
it.
transfer, one second.
Go ahead.
Can we connect a transfer of a license back to, no fines within so much of a period of time?
Well, that would be going back to all renewals, but also perhaps with transfers. I think some of the language we've talked about, and I would suggest, is a lot of this you assume you want to see done administratively. That just somebody's looking at it, watching, reporting, communicating to you what's happening. Or do you want all of these to come to you every year? That's a question. Because if it's presumed that maybe most of these are pretty straightforward, that can be administratively approved with transparent communication to you, that's fine. I would just ask to have written in there that even I have the discretion to say if one's a little murky or there's a fine history there, that I punt it to you and make them come and hold their hat in front of you, and you are the final answer on that. Again, it's an exercise of discretion without having to draw a certain line of so many fines or violations or sideways looks. I'm saying, no, I'm not going to let you get an administrative approval. You got to go in front of council. or certainly you can put hard and fast ones.
No, I think that that's a great.
On the one hand, I owe accountability to you on that, and if I'm not exercising that discretion judiciously, you know what to do with it. But if, on the other hand, if you just wanna state that you can, there's a couple ways to do that.
There's another angle I just thought about that we're missing. So we're putting caps into play. So what's gonna stop one of our current growers from buying excess amount of licenses and then transferring them after the caps are in play?
Your the power of the ordinance to say yes or no to that. I mean, if they're playing that kind of game, where they're trying to transfer two different properties.
Well,
Yeah.
like, our friend on the end there buys 10 licenses because that's what his deadline, and he says that's what I need. And he doesn't need all 10, so he just decides to flip one for a profit to another business down the road.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a transfer though. That's the whole thing, is it's a transfer.
Yeah, we can work.
It is a transfer, but the transfer has to be on that same property, I would think. I mean, that.
The intent would be the same property, we can
Yes,
write
we
that
can
into
write
the
that into the
language.
No,
ordinance.
agreed. and that's-
Versus selling, like, we're not going to allow someone to sell a license that they possess to another facility. Now, if they want to relinquish that license and we may possibly be able to transfer it, possibly. Maybe they could just make up the different, or they would pay.
No, and that's the only
But
reason,
you're right.
that's the only reason I
Sure.
asked.
No,
Because it
it's a great thought. My other thought on it, in terms of monetary, we are obviously, if there's an outstanding fine on that property, that fine will need to be brought up to zero before even considering license transfer.
We won't renew, we won't.
No. Is that something that needs to be added into the ordinance? You know, if there's an outstanding fine, then that fine needs to be brought up to date before allowing a transfer.
And I think there should be no issuance of anything new until that fine.
Oh, sure.
Oh, 100%.
I mean,
I like our friend on the end, I'm gonna use that.
Our friend on the end.
Yeah.
It's either friend on the end or we're all point like that. There seems to be two
The curve.
directions where the most problems are. Well, that's not a problem out there anymore because nobody's doing it.
Keith.
But,
I'm sorry.
this better be 4-H related.
No, I like everything you guys are doing, but in the question of the percentages, the change of ownership of percentage, so if somebody owns 25% of son, and the father owns the majority, 51%, and then he sells to the son another 40%, now the son is the majority holder, is that a transfer? Okay, and it's not a change of ownership in a sense,
But it's changing the.
They're gonna have to
It changes who the majority owner is.
It
so
changes the
someone
majority.
could hold a pretty good, I guess your percentages is where I'm questioning that, because those percentages could come into play in that kind of a situation.
They would have to notify someone that they're doing that, and we receive that, and then have to come here.
That would be, I think that would fall under what James is referring to
Right.
as an administrative decision, where if he doesn't see it as anything, sketchy.
So it's just
It
his
would be-
dad is transferring the stuff to him because he's gonna get out, but he still wants to hold a little percentage while his kids running the business. Yeah, I don't think that's a big deal, but if everything checks, all the I's and T's, and there's never been any issues, I wouldn't see an issue. But if now we've had an issue, now it's an issue and it's gonna show up in front of us.
Practically speaking, the way I see that happening is when we get a request for transfer, I communicate that to council over the week or so it takes to process that. There's plenty of opportunity for you to give me feedback or call time out and call a special meeting or, whatever. That's easy to me.
The initial idea of this, didn't come from all of those smaller ideas that we've tossed around now, but more of an idea of, a certain group of people comes in front of planning, we look at their idea, we look at the business plan, we look at everything. Yeah, we approve of everything you're doing, sure, we'll approve your license. The next person that comes in line, if they don't become an operation, and we don't see what they're going to do, we may not agree with their business plan, we may not agree with their ideas of what they plan on doing, and I don't want to trap us in a situation where we've approved one business to come in and do it, but now that business has punted it to another business, and we may not agree with that exactly. I don't like the idea of knowing that we have vacant properties over there and certain group of individuals were approved, and now those aren't gonna be the individuals that are going to be putting up the buildings and running the business and things like that. But all of this other small things that is coming in is, those are just added ideas that have came for this one general idea.
I like your pause.
What was that?
I like your pause.
So then I will motion to approve the transfer of license test to be studied further.
Support.
There we go. Motion's been made and supported for the transfer of license ruling. Roll call.
Alright, Hewitt,
Yes.
Vicky,
Yes.
Lerner,
Yes.
Wenzel,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Powell.
Yes.
Nice, they all move on. Anybody with anything?
So what's happening with the planning commission on the volcanoes out there with those, side by sides out there? The buildings.
They're up for a site plan amendment for those. There was also a second one on there for Money Island Holdings for hoop houses. Greenhouses.
Makeshift cheap greenhouses.
Wait a minute, what?
Well, once upon a time, we
I
said
read that.
was not something
Absolutely.
Yeah, we wasn't gonna allow.
Who wants to put hoop houses up?
Money Line Holdings.
What are they putting hoop houses up for?
They soon be growing in.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, this is good for me because I.
Versus outdoor grow, or are they going to only be growing during the outdoor grow season, or are they going to attempt to grow in these year round? As this questions we'll ask at the planning commissions. Okay, great. I'll get my list going. Because during the actual outdoor season, I wouldn't see a problem in that. However, once harvest is up in October, no. I mean, that's not an approved thing that we agreed to under planning commission whatsoever.
I believe
What
when
was
we
that
first
back there?
approved allowing greenhouses, we said absolutely not to hoop houses. But I don't know if there was any change made to that when we approved outdoor grow.
We didn't approve outdoor grow, we just didn't opt out of outdoor grow. So there was no,
I don't know if there was
No
any
approval.
language change. I know when we talked about greenhouses, we talked about the security of a greenhouse versus an actual stick building. And we were told specifically then, well, it's not gonna be like a hoop house made of plastic.
Right.
I'm not sure what it is.
No, this is Money Line Holdings in the northeast corner of Eden Way, Maine.
Okay.
Well, can
I guess we'll just have to figure out what their idea is. I mean, if they wanna use them during the actual summer growing season, I don't see the difference. I might even knock down on some of the odor, during harvest time, but if they're gonna try to grow them beyond, one, they'll go broke. I'll tell you what it costs to keep a greenhouse in the middle of winter. And
I'll probably have to, do some more research, because what I didn't see is, those discussions may have taken place, but it wasn't memorialized in an ordinance necessarily.
Sure.
That doesn't mean you can't, the planning commission still doesn't have discretion on questions to ask.
Okay.
Wasn't it Pete Road that had 2 extra trailers they were bringing in for processing?
That's Fall Town.
And that's coming, okay.
That's also, on those are 2 items on the planning commission agenda, yeah.
Frank?
Sorry, cause that just brought to light, I've asked Eden Way for quite a while now, it's been at least 2 months, and they've got campers out front that people are obviously living in. Is that a legal use, because you can't live in a camper in a residential area in your yard, you might be able to spend a night in it, but I don't think you can live in it without a special approval because of a fire or whatever. But there's obviously, I mean, there's barbecues out there, they make their meals out there, they live in them right out front of the fenced area. So it's very obvious. Yeah, and then on the ones over at Keep Packing, are they required to be in the rock fence area?
They have not set those yet. That's what, I was just making sure up at the planning commission. They ordered them, didn't realize they were wrong, we caught them, so now everything is put on hold until.
They didn't set them, they did set them.
Oh, I thought they were just temporarily.
No, they installed them. Those do not have to be inside the fencing per se. That's because they're not, the plants aren't growing there. The fence has to be around the plants growing.
Cause those are for processing, was there?
There, yes, it's processing and, the other building.
Why wouldn't they have any inside the fence, even in their processing?
It's not necessary, the building has to be secure, I mean, just like a highlight, it's not inside the fence. The building has to be secure.
Yeah, but got a fence around it, so.
Right.
Not the front of the building.
No,
But
not
not front of the building, yeah.
But outside the fence.
But if there's anything growing, yeah, if there's anything growing, it has to be enclosed in a fence or in the building. I don't think it has to be.
So what's happening in those that's considered processing?
What is happening in there?
Like, educate me on.
Processing, extraction,
Take it out and
Yeah.
break it up.
So that's
Yeah.
what I got. So there are plants outside of the fence area.
Inside a building, secure building.
Have they went through the fire department for the process of, what they're gonna do out there? What chemicals they're using and all that?
Well, they already do it, it's just a different building to do
The
it.
building's just the drying and breaking it up, there's not an actual growing procedure.
No, but you still, you break it down and that, they extract stuff, they use chemicals and nitrogen and all that stuff.
Yeah, which is what they're already doing that out there. This is just.
In that other building.
Yeah.
But this is in this building, and saying you're adding more buildings, we gotta know about what they're doing.
Oh, sure.
I don't know if that building would be capable of moving that type of equipment into it, so they might.
But we still gotta know if there's gonna be chemicals in that anyway.
Sure, and I'm sure. But I mean, your guess is as good as mine. We'll find out on the
Yeah,
23rd.
I'll circle back to the chief to see what those questions would be.
What about the ones already, like,
The campers?
the campers?
Yeah, there was a question that came up on that. I think I may have even shared that with the council a while back.
I think it was the last meeting, because
Yeah.
Brian brought it up then, I believe.
There,
I wondered, did I see
so
anything?
that is agricultural zoning. So the extent to which you might see a camper and even somebody staying in one in agricultural zoning in the village or the township or elsewhere, that may actually be permissible. It's not residential, it's not business, it is agricultural zoning. What we haven't, so that's the short answer. I mean, you have campers out at the fairgrounds, agriculture zoning, you have, so that there are some things that could happen that may be permissible under the zoning. We certainly keep an eye on it. Tom's aware of it. I don't know 100% that people are actually staying there overnight. I don't know if it's,
Considered like a break
employee
area.
break area or for meals or for what have that kind of thing. But because it is agricultural zoning, to see a camper on agricultural zoning actually isn't that disconcerting. But we'll keep an eye on it.
Then when you have the temporary situation, at the fairground is temporary.
Sure.
Or at some of the park is temporary.
But temporary's done two different ways.
Well, I believe it is temporary, because nobody's there past October, technically. I mean, they're not growing past October.
Well, they have to have 24-hour security. It could be used for security personnel as well. It could be a number of things.
Can we find out what they use it for? Is that
Yeah.
illegal? I mean.
No, we could certainly ask. We
Sure.
can ask whatever we want. And because of nature, I think they have to answer those questions. It's on Tom's radar, right? I think last time I talked, he was going to be asking some questions to figure out what exactly the scope of the use of those were.
Mhm.
Go to Old Gas Tractor and buy ice from Costco.
Yes, I will. I'm gonna go, and I'm gonna learn how to make it.
Hey, I'm sitting here, by the way.
I'm gonna.
Motion to adjourn.
Support.
Motion's been made to adjourn and supported. All those in favor? Opposed? You guys are just waiting on me to do
That
it.
was kind of funny, that was painful, wasn't it?
It is, that hurts, man. I have one job.